Question number 3. Is it correct to assume that strength declines with age? Yes. If so, at about what age is peak strength on average? Should specific exercises change as one ages, or we should stop deadlifting and or squatting? What is the latest research on total knee replacement and the advisability? That was like availability. And advisability of deadlifting and squatting. Ooh, I think it's just like a good series of questions.
It's like I do this.
Yeah. As far as does strength on average decline with age, the answer to that is yes. The data on this is I don't know, less interesting, I guess, than you might have hoped for. Most people become less and less active as they age. They lose muscle mass as they age, and well, lo and behold, they're not quite as strong as they age, as they've lost muscle mass and become less active. As far as the data on people who maintain physical activity, maintain muscle mass, do they lose strength just because they've gotten older? It doesn't appear to be the case, so I don't know. No big surprise there to me. As far as what age do you see peak strength, again, this depends on how you measure it. If you look at just the barbell strength sports, we're talking about usually early 30s, mid 30s, somewhere in there. But a lot of this has to do with training history and how long somebody's been training. I expect actually in powerlifting for that sort of trend to become earlier.
Upwards.
Oh, you think it's going to go upwards?
I think so.
I think it's going to go the other way.
Why?
Because I think we're going to
We just found a disagreement.
Boom, argument. Well, so the way I see it now is that powerlifting used to be such this fringe sport, right? And so the cohort right now that it's competing, particularly people that are very at higher levels of competition have been doing this for a while and will, have kind of shifted the age up. And I think as we recruit younger and younger talent that start developing earlier and earlier, I expect that average peak strength to be at a younger age.
Maybe.
You think that those folks are going to keep competing indefinitely and then it go the other way? Yeah, well, I disagree.
People will stick around the more people come into the sport, they'll stick around in masters competition. Because that's kind of like what I've seen in the swimming world.
Yeah.
Like masters records are quite fast because people stay in the sport for a while.
But in our sport right now, masters records aren't higher than the open records. So you would say the peak strength was earlier?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, all right. We'll see.
So I think that, the as far as general population outside of powerlifting, I reported in one of the early lectures of the weekend on sarcopenia and things like that kind of general trajectory of strength across the lifespan. And those data that I cited came from hand grip strength was the way that was measured, and it kind of peaked in the 30s, and then it started declining from there. But again, remember that context that I described was adults who were physically inactive. Right? That's when it started declining from 30s to 50s, and then after 50s it started declining more precipitously in adults who were physically inactive. I think training can forestall that substantially and result in increases in strength for probably longer than most people think, and definitely if people have a delayed start to their training.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So if you're physically inactive and then you start training at 40, when is your peak strength going to be? Yeah, it could be 55, 60, who knows, if you keep training consistently starting later on. So I wouldn't worry too much about, the sense I get is is this person wondering am I past my peak or something like this? So that wouldn't necessarily be something that I would worry about. And I don't think that you need to choose any specific exercises based on age, just what the person wants to do. They can adapt if you dose it properly, right? So again, movement is safe. The dosage and intensity of loading is what we really care about. So we can have people across the age spectrum who can do all sorts of stuff if we dose it properly. Of course, you have to account for limitations when they come into exercise, right? But that's part of being a good coach, is taking that kind of history and evaluating what do they want to accomplish and what are their limitations, and trying to come up with a plan from how you get from point A to point B. Total knee replacement and deadlifting and squatting. I don't think that there is, when it said latest research, there is not really any research directly on that question of taking people post knee arthroplasty and having them do heavy deadlifts. But in practice, we see it all the time. People do it frequently.
I know. I don't think that there are any comparative studies of all right, you're doing squats versus leg press, for example, or comparing exercise to exercise and trying to chart does this specific exercise yield better outcomes post replacement? But yeah. We see people doing deadlifting and squatting after hip replacements, knee replacements, whatever. Main thing is not really restricting them on how they can move after they're cleared to train. right? So like once somebody's completed the rehab process and is cleared to like exercise, like we don't need to put artificial limits on them just because they have joint replacement. Doesn't seem to be the case, unless there are, you know, other contraindications. Leonard, he's double kneed up, whatever, and still deadlifting and squatting. So
This is his dad.
oh, that's my dad. Yeah, yeah. This may surprise you. He's a pretty good overhead presser. I think he pressed in the 160s for reps.
Oh,
Yeah, dude.
Okay, that's
I know.
pretty good.
So did I get it from him?
You did.
Or did he get it from me?
That doesn't make sense.
If you think about it. Okay.